Hey everybody, it's Sean Del Grego from MedTalk USA. Thank you for tuning in with me today. Today we're going to be talking about PA advocacy. I had the pleasure of recently being invited to talk with some friends over at the Society of Army Physician Assistants, SAPA. It's an organization that really promotes PAs that were former military or active duty military PAs with the U.S. Army. The good thing about SAPA is the fact that they really believe in making the PA stronger. They wanted to know more about what a PA was and could be in the future. So where we came from, where we are now, and where we're going. As you all know, this is an ever-changing world we live in, and the physician assistant is going to be a great part of it, especially with COVID-19 and everything that goes with it. So, let's MedTalk USA.
At the inaugural class in 2018, he retired from the U.S. Army with over 25 years of service, and he is really passionate about improvement and service to the PA community. He's fellowship trained in family medicine and currently resides in Northwest Florida. He's active with FAPA and AAPA, and he's accomplished international lecturer, most recently guest speaking in Germany, the CEPA conference that we all miss, right? And I think you also did some work with the German program, the German PA program. Since retiring from active military service, Shawn has worked as a hospitalist and emergency medicine PA, urgent care PA, and currently I believe you're in charge of a heart walk-in clinic at Ascension Sacred Heart. Is that correct? Yep. All right. His clinic was the recipient of the coveted Best in Destin 2016 award. What an honor to be part of that. And with you at the helm, that's great news. So Shawn, without further ado, shall we move into some questions and maximize our time, and then we'll open up for questions from the audience at any time during this. Please go ahead and type questions in the chat bar if you want to. Shawn, while you were on active duty, you served in positions at all levels, from battalion to corps to senior PA for U.S. Army Europe and European Medical Command. Company commander twice, combat development, and 6th Ranger Training Battalion. That's a very diverse experience and set of assignments. So this might be hard, but what was the most challenging and then the most rewarding position for you, and why?
Well, first of all, hey, thank you for having me. I'm Sean Del Grego. I'm just honored to be here with SAPA. Love the organization. Enjoy the conferences. I still have several SAPA mugs, and I want another one. They're awesome. I think my most challenging job was being a commander, because being a clinician and trying to be a commander, it's kind of like learning how to walk. Where warfighters, they're taught from day one to lead and to do the right thing for their troops. Where PAs are prior warfighters probably, but not really necessarily like, senior leaders. Most PAs, when I was going through, were, non-commissioned officers, and we didn't have any commissioned officers. So we were the last of the, before they had their IPAP program. We were the last with at Fort Sam Houston with University of Texas. Needless to say, so it was a learning experience for me. Very challenging, worthwhile. It definitely made me want to learn more. That was my most challenging. The most fun I ever had was being the senior PA for United States Army Europe, so United States USARA. And so it was good because I made a difference for PAs. I even had Dave Hamilton down in Italy I had to deal with, which is always fun. And the thing is, anytime you can make a difference for someone else in your career field, you should do it. And hopefully it's a good difference, because most younger PAs, they learn one or two ways. They learn what not to do, and they also learn what to do. And it's usually by watching you. And so if you're able to be a leader, make a difference, and actually reach out and touch someone in a good way and make a difference in their life, that's what you really need to do. It doesn't matter if you choose the clinician path or if you're choosing the leadership role or if you're going to go into education. And that's what, I guess I could sum it up best that way.
Thank you, Shawn. And you actually could show your mug if you want to. We had a sack of mug contest earlier to see who had the oldest one. But when you were in Europe, you actually were very involved in training, but it wasn't just training with our forces, it was international training. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Now, the Germans, they were trying to create a physician assistant or something similar to that. So we worked with, out of United States Army Europe, we worked with, the Germans, the Bundeswehr, to try to get them online with a PA program. We gave several lectures about how they can do it and what's the right way of going about business. And they actually created what we now know as the PA in Germany. And it was from the teachings and lecturing and mentoring that we gave them from the United States Army Europe to the Bundeswehr.
Excellent. So you've transitioned, and we had a nice transitioning panel earlier, and that was great, and they uncovered some challenges. And so what was your biggest challenge as you transitioned and began practicing in the civilian PA world?
I mean, anyone who's been in the military longer than, I would say, 10 years, the military has reformed you into a different person. You're not the same person as when you came into the military. Good, bad, or indifferent. I find that the regimen of being in the military is daily activities. You have everything planned out for you. You're kind of like, this is the way we do this is the way we do that, this is the way we do that. You find that you're kind of like a little too rigid. The civilians are kind of like, hey, whatever. And as a military person, you're kind of like, no, we're going to do X, Y, Z. And we're not going to put Z before Y because that's not the way you do it. And one thing I had to learn is to relax. And just take it easy. This too shall pass. It will make you stronger. And that made a difference for me. Being surrounded by, really good mentors on the civilian side as well, that made a difference. One thing I learned though is the training I got with the United States military as an officer and as a physician assistant really, molded me into something more than the average PA is on the outside, because the average PA is really good as a clinician and they get trained to a very high level, but they don't really get trained in leadership. They don't really get trained in managerial skills. They get trained, see this patient, treat the patient, move on. And because of that, there is a lack on lead PAs in the civilian world that are actually quality PAs. And so any PA who's been in the military for long enough to go to a couple military schools, they're trained well enough to where they can do what they have to do to make a difference for the people once again around them. And once senior leadership in your organization, if you're in a big hospital like Ascension Sacred Heart, or if you're in one of these other facilities that White Wilson or one of those big facilities, Baptist, they see the talent that you bring to the table. They have lead physicians, but they don't really have lead PAs that do very much. And nurse practitioners, they have senior nursing staff that will actually take care of them. But the PA, I found, is very underserved in the civilian community. So
maybe kind of on an island when you think about leaders surrounding you.
Correct.
So that when you notice that and that there's a lack of a PA kind of leadership in the civilian sector, is that what drove you to seek out the doctorate of medical science, or kind of what was your reasoning for going for that degree?
The doctor of medical science is our future. When I first went into the PA program back in 1995, the end of 95, beginning 96, if I remember correctly. It was a bachelor's degree, and it wasn't very long that it had been a bachelor's degree. It had been a bachelor's degree maybe like 5 or 6 years. And I know we all have people saying, well, I was there first class for the master's program, blah, blah, blah. We didn't have a master's program. They were talking about doing such a thing. But in the military or in any organization, when you hear talk about it, it's going to be a while before it happens. And so I graduated in 1998 with a bachelor's degree in PA studies from the University of Texas. And I knew I had to get more. I had to become more because I could see the writing on the wall with talking to other people that master's programs are where it's going to be. And so I said, I'm going to go ahead and get into the master's program on the ground floor, so that way we can definitely make sure that we're taken care of, and I'm good to go. And so I did. I got the master's of PA studies over there with the University of Nebraska, like probably many of you guys did as well. Fast forward 18 years later, just blinking, there it is. I saw once again that the nurse practitioner, and I have friends who are nurse practitioners. I love nurse practitioners, and I'm never going to fault them for doing what they do. So please don't read it as I'm dissing on a nurse practitioner, but we got to learn their game. We should never be upset with them. We just have to learn their game. Doctor, nurse practitioner is one of those things that is driving the train for the advanced practitioner, PA, to become more than what they are. Because if we don't, we are going to be left behind. Good, bad, or indifferent, agree, disagree. The reality is that's 2020 and that's 2030. And so moving forward, I realized that the Doctor of Medical Science was probably a good degree to look at. And it's none of this stuff about, it's like, well, if I want to become a doctor, I'd go to medical school stuff. I wasn't trying to be a physician. I was trying to be a better PA. Having the fellowship program to teach me more as a PA, having the doctorate program to teach me more from everything from evidence-based medicine to research and development to, world dynamics when it comes to issues with public health. That's all in the program that I went through. And there are several good programs out there. I mean, you don't have to go to my alma mater to be a quality provider. And as long as you just go for it and get your doctorate, I think it's worth it as a PA. Because in 10 to 15 years from now, if you are still practicing, you're gonna find yourself maybe as the odd man out if you don't have a doctorate. Because mark my words, every program in the United States is a master's program right now. Within the next probably decade to a decade and a half, majority, if not all of them, are going to be probably doctorate level programs. And that's going to be just keeping up once again with the nurse practitioners.
Right, no, very good. So you alluded to kind of where you see the PA career in the future. And you talked a lot about your passion in educating and mentoring and providing an example. And I noticed that on Instagram, you're a speaker, mentor, influencer, and YouTuber. Can you tell us a little bit about your mission and vision for your YouTube platform and your social media sites, MedTalk USA?
Well, MedTalk USA was something that we brainstormed around a year ago, and we started doing some videos on, and we started trying to just increase a platform in social media for advanced practitioners to get the word out on certain subjects. The thing about social media today is you can find chiropractors giving, whimsical type knowledge on, how to get a flu shot or whatever, or a vaccination. I mean, what a chiropractor knows about vaccinations is beyond me. Once again, everyone has their purpose. And so I found that if a chiropractor can give information about how to get vaccinations and about how to treat cancer, then maybe a health provider such as a physician assistant can do the same and do it with a little bit more experience about those areas, and hopefully give the people that are out there, a lot of the general public, some just basic knowledge about certain things, not necessarily medical advice, but just basic knowledge.
Come off mute. what has been your experience and your positive feedback the first year in MedTalk USA?
Well, MedTalk USA is more than just YouTube. It's several different platforms. To include, I do a lot with my web page over here on Facebook. Also, we do everything from TikTok to YouTube. It's lots of fun. We just have fun with it, and we have at Del Grego Productions, we're creating just a dialogue so that way people can access medical information without feeling like someone's talking over their head.
It's really kind of an outreach, breaking down medicine to a user-friendly level in order to inform the community.
Correct. Exactly.
That's great. And so, would you see expansion or just continuing in the same route you are with the different platforms on MedTalk USA?
We're looking at expanding it right now. Currently, my wife has her own web page that she works on, and then we also have other web pages we're working on. And so the last web page that we're actually, trying to get up and going better is actually MedTalk USA. I felt like MedTalk USA was a better title than Sean Del Grego Doctor Level PA because people understand MedTalk USA. They don't really understand PA and doctor. Those two kind of are almost like an oxymoron to some individuals. The reality is, anyone who's ever earned a doctorate, and most people on this chat room, they actually have doctorate degrees. And the sad thing is that PAs can have a doctorate degree, and they can be the ultimate professional. They can be the most experienced person in the room. And it's never a bad thing. Sometimes though, and we get a lot of pushback from physicians as well, that they don't want to lose any, I'm going to be nice and say they just want to keep their little piece of the pie. They want to keep their realm. But in 2020, there are a lot of people walking around these hallways and these facilities these days that are wearing lab coats, that are doctors, and they're not physicians. Look at the chiropractor, the optometrist, the psychologist. I can just keep going. To even talk about our buddies, the chiropractors. It is what it is. So what we're trying to do is just to provide more outreach to our population, the lay person, to give them good information, and also introduce them to the PA.
And that's what I was going to ask you next, is how much of your time on those platforms is focused at trying to help the community understand what a PA is? Because I find, even amongst my own uniformed person someday, they don't understand a PA.
Oh, exactly. That's a really good question. I find that a lot of individuals, they'll come in and they'll say, so I don't want to see a PA. I want to get my runny nose taken care of. I'm like, well, sir, I can take care of your runny nose. You don't have to see a physician to get that done. And so they're like, well, okay, well, if you can. And there's been people that did not want to come to my clinic and see me in a walk-in clinic or emergency medicine or immediate care. They want the physician. And the reality is, once they get to know you and they get to actually interact with you, I've got people now that I can't get rid of because they come to me all the time because they know I can handle anything from a bronchitis to a broken ankle. They know I can handle a runny nose, They know I can manage their diabetes, and so the thing is that, correct, a lot of individuals have a hard time understanding exactly what a physician assistant is. They see you wearing a lab coat, they see you handing out the medications, they see you writing down on a computer or in front of them on a script or whatever. They know they can get their Z-Pack from you or whatever. You're the doc, and so I remember I was being called doc as a medic, and I was being called doc as a PA in the military with a master's degree. And now that I have a doctorate, I get called doc anyway. I'm still Shawn. Yes, I do have a doctorate, but call me Shawn because I don't want to confuse anyone thinking I'm trying to imitate a physician. And I've even had patients say, that's kind of messed up. I said, well, it is what it is. Well, how come I can't call you doctor? I said, sir, I'm telling you I'm a physician assistant. You can call me the Queen of Sheba. I don't care. I do have a doctorate. And so the reality is, it's the Board of Medicine that's the gripe, sir. And they're like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. I was like, well, I'm sorry, sir. Maybe one day a person who's earned a doctorate, you can call them doctor and it won't confuse anything. Well, I'm not confused. Well, I'm sorry, sir. That's the trials and tribulations of a physician assistant in clinic today in 2020. Maybe in 2040, it won't be so much.
Right, right. You know, I attended the first doctorate when EM transitioned, and many of you know Len Grupo. He beat into our heads that we would not call ourselves doctors, right? Because it was still very much a controversial time for the PAs to have the 18-month fellowships turned into a doctorate degree. And so, I mean, he probably beat us every day of that 18 months to ensure we left there knowing we weren't doctors. So, and we're still kind of talking about that same thing, you know. I'll date myself a bit, but that was 14 years ago.
Yeah. I tell you honestly, it's like yesterday when I retired in 2013. I retired actually almost exactly 13 or 7 years ago to this day. I retired the 1st of October, just as they shut down the government. And I made a smart comment. I was like, well, I didn't realize if I would retire, everything was going to shut down. But the funny thing was, I did. Yeah, everything did. But everything got opened back up again. But what you're saying is so true because, you know, we as physician assistants can still be doctors. And nurse practitioners can still be doctors. Physical therapists can still be doctors. Optometrists can still be doctors. The physician doesn't own the term doctor. The doctor is an academic title. And PAs are not special, and PAs are not, you know, we're pretty much very mild-mannered individuals. You know, we have egos like everyone else, but we just want to be a member of the team. We want to be on that team and be a valued member of it. We don't want to be just some guy with an assistant in his title, which that's a whole another story. Anyone who's been a PA for half a minute, they're like, what's up with this assistant thing? Because I'm nobody's assistant. You know.
Right. So like you said, you kind of talked about how you see PAs in the future, and maybe in 10 years, we'll chat between now and then, but maybe in 10 years, this conversation will be much different because we'll have made more progress. So what made you decide to settle down in Florida? Was that home, or was it where you found you could expand your role as a PA, or was it a combination?
Well, as a senior PA in USERA, I really wanted to go back to Fort Sam Houston, Texas. I wasn't ready to call it quits yet. Something happened, and that job I had fell through. And so the next job that they said, hey, well, what I got for you is a pretty cool little gig. You can be the TMC OIC for TMC number 6 over at Ranger Camp. And I was like, where? And they said, in Florida. I said, you're going to send me to Florida? I was like, okay, I'll go. And so Ranger Camp's his own little demon, though. And in Camp Rudder, for 2 years and change, I was there at Camp Rudder with a deployment in between. And you're talking 18-hour days. It's very challenging. One thing led to another, and next thing you know, like probably most people who have been in the military longer than a couple of decades, I got divorced. So the only way to be close to my kids is to stay in Florida. So here I am. The funny thing is, Florida's really become home. And I still see my kids all the time, so that's wonderful. And I had no regrets. The bad thing about Florida is it can be kind of hot during the summertime. The good thing about Florida, hey, you know what? You're on the beach.
Very good, very good, very good. Looking at your vast experience at all levels as a PA, what advice would you give those persons, one, considering to become a PA? And I think we have 1 or 2 people that are pre-PA maybe in the group. And then what about the new PAs?
Well, I mean, individuals who are wanting to get into the PA program, if this is their calling, do it. if you're a nurse practitioner or want to be a nurse practitioner, you're kind of like, I'm an RN, I don't know which way I want to go. I mean, it's totally up to you. Me personally, I love being a PA. The PA was the right decision for me. I think that it's a challenge, though, with the way things are going right now, for PAs out there competing against nurse practitioners. We are two different entities. We do pretty similar jobs. The PA has much more experience, much more education than a nurse practitioner student. I know I've been a preceptor and adjunct professor for PA students for a long time. And also I had the pleasure of dealing with some nurse practitioner students. And I could see not all students are made equal, but it was because of the programs that I could definitely see, the different PA students, different programs, I could see them not having the same footing. But as far as nurse practitioners coming in from the University of South Alabama, one nurse practitioner with really good experience, great, did everything she needed to do. She was just as good as any PA student I was training. Another individual with no experience or very little experience as a nurse going to PA or nurse practitioner school was lacking. And that's what happens when you have a program that doesn't give as much clinical hours, 500 to 750 versus 2,000.
Right.
Now, as far as the new PAs getting their feet wet, just stay loose, stay open-minded. Don't think that you're something that's substandard. You're an advanced practitioner and you make a difference daily for individuals in and around you. And then there will be a job waiting for you when you get out of the military. There will be.
Excellent, excellent. And that leads us to a question by Bill Solis. How would you rate the Florida state laws for PAs to practice in that state compared to the rest of the country?
Good question. Hey, Bill, how you doing? I haven't seen you in forever. He was a classmate of mine. I love Bill to death. He's a great guy. Well, in the state of Florida, I've been working for a while now with Florida Academy of PAs, FAPA. I'm part of the legislative team that goes down there every single year and talks to a lot of the lawmakers. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting several of senior leadership on the Senate side and even several on the House side that were actually pro-PA. The problem is that we don't have a strong PA lobby. We don't pay enough money to these lobbyists to get them to do a lot of good things for us. We don't put enough money into the politicians' hands to make them like the PA more than they like the nurse practitioner or the nurse. And the nurses have a very strong lobby. Most recently, I was there in January of 2000 and up at Tallahassee talking to different lawmakers. I talked to them even regularly. I guess around 2 months ago, I was talking to a couple lawmakers on the phone in reference to PAs. We had a setback because we put our hat in the ring with the nurse practitioner, and we weren't expecting the nurse practitioner to do anything else except for be an honorable individual. And what happened was on the House side, we introduced a bill for autonomy, relative autonomy. If they were a primary care physician assistant, we wanted them, and they've been practicing for more than 4,000 hours with no litigation against them. We wanted them to have the ability to pay for an additional license in order so that way they can have their own practice without having to pay thousands of dollars to a physician, just so they could say, yep, I got a physician in my food chain. The nurse practitioners were on board with us. They went and talked to a senator. They backdoored, introduced a bill on the Senate side, and it got approved. That was keeping the PA out of it, just strictly nurse practitioner. So we got out and around. It happens, but we're still working hard with our legislative abilities to try to get Florida where we need to be. It wasn't too long ago, you need to remember, is that we didn't even have the right to do controlled substances in Florida as a PA. Around 3 years ago, we had that law approved, and it was signed off by Governor Scott, so that way we could write for scripts, like a 7-day script of Percocet.
All right, Shawn. Well, I left a couple questions on the table, but we're out of time. I do want to mention a fun fact that somebody shared with us.
It's all lies.
It's all live. Your wife is a soap opera star. I think that's for one of the cocktail hours that Sapa's hosting. We can talk more about that. But if you wouldn't mind, if people want to know more about what you're doing, if you wouldn't mind posting your contact information and the @MedTalkUSA in the chat bar, we'd love that. And otherwise, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. Anytime that anyone's down here in Florida, come down and see us. It's a wonderful state. We have lots of great things to do. And Florida PAs rock.
All right. Thank you.
Just stay tuned. We're here to help. And we want you guys to know that MedTalk USA is on the air, and we're going to do our best to be a member of your community. So if you like what you hear, I want you to subscribe. Hit the little button down here. No, down here. Hit that button. All right. And then ring the bell, so that way when we have other videos that we put out on the internet, on YouTube and other places, we can go ahead and get that information to you as well. And if you have any comments, leave them below. You know, we're not trying to be super doctors or anything like that, and and we're not trying to make you feel like we know more than you. We're just trying to share information. We're one community, and in this time of our society, we have to have a strong community that works well together. So once again, hey, thanks for watching MedTalk USA. I'm Sean Del Grego. I'm a doctorate level physician assistant in family practice. Leave your comments below, and I sure do appreciate you guys tuning in. All right, thanks, bye.